Good evening and welcome to the midweek episode of the Godly Trading Podcast. Tonight we're talking about, Johnny says hello from the Wild West town of Boomer. All right, Boomer, Virginia, Boomer, North Carolina. Where are you? I think you're in North Carolina, as I recall. We are talking about an interesting topic tonight, one that it's one of those topics no one wants to talk about, which is stop losses. And is there a biblical basis? Can we apply biblical principles to something like stop losses? First, let's just take a sort of an emotional step back and let me ask you this question. Do you ever feel like setting a stop loss is somehow admitting defeat? Like you're saying, I don't trust this trade enough, or worse, I don't trust myself. It's funny, a lot of traders wrestle with stop loss. With everybody that I try to help, and I talk to on a regular basis, risk management and stop losses it's kind of a taboo subject. No one wants to talk about it. But the truth is, stop losses aren't about doubt. All right, they're not about losing. They're about discipline. They're about stewardship. They're about acknowledging that sometimes the wisest, most biblical thing that you can do is to cut your losses and move on. And so here's the question that we're going to be answering tonight. Can the Bible, the world's best trading manual, whether it's New King James or English Standard or whatever translation, can the Bible actually help you place your stop losses? Now, I'm not saying that it's going to Proverbs 24 now says yes. Spoiler alert. Yes, it can. Now, it's not going to tell you, hey, John chapter 3 says to put my Euro US stop loss at, 0.83, or put my Acme stop loss at $1. North Carolina, I thought it was somewhere. I knew you were in the Eastern time zone. But there are absolutely biblical principles that can guide us to setting a stop loss just in this particular spot. Jeff in Tucson. If my fifth grade geography works well, that would be Arizona. So you are in the time for Pacific, the Midwest, whatever is not central. The mountain. That's right. I'm assuming so. So here's what I was thinking about the other day. Matter of fact, when we're going through our August challenge, it says, "Hey, we're going to read." And I read today's proverb from August the 20th. Actually, my computer said it was the 19th, so I read both, which is no problem reading 2 chapters of Proverbs. Struck me that trading all does come down to the little things. Jesus said in Luke 16, I think it was, somewhere in Luke, it says, if you are faithful in little, you'll be faithful in much. And so when you think about what a stop loss represents on our chart, it's this little red line, right? It's about as little as you can get. But if you can't be faithful in that, why would you expect God to trust you with much? Bigger account, bigger, whatever it is. But here's what I have found, and let me know in the chat first and foremost, because I might be preaching to the choir. The chat is coming from both YouTube and Facebook, but not Instagram. So let me know on Instagram as well. Do you trade with whatever you consider a stop loss, some sort of stop loss? Maybe you are a manual stop losser where you think, hey, me and my finger are the stop loss. Just as it's 4 p.m. I can't do that math. What is that, 2 hours? Do you trade with any sort of stop loss? If you are watching this on replay, put a comment, yes or no, yes stop loss, no stop loss. They are absolutely part of a mechanical system. Proverbs 23:4. Well, it's only the 20th. I can't look up. I haven't gotten there yet. Don't trust. Proverbs 23:4 probably says something about. Well, if I know Proverbs, it probably says something about money. Did we have another one come in, Mr. Producer Man? Yes. Don't trust in riches. Absolutely. Don't rush into. Hang on. Do that again. Let me use these things. Proverbs don't rush into riches. I believe Proverbs 23:3 says, put your glasses on. Stop losses, yes, they're mechanical, but they're also moral. There are, I hate to say this because I'm going to be stepping on some people's toes. They are and look, preaching to the choir here, they are a test of whether you'll be faithful in the small things before God hands you the bigger things in trading. I love this thing from Luke, talking about risk management. That's what a stop loss is. Stop loss is trading with risk management. And Jesus says in Luke something about the person who's building a tower. Say, hey, if you want to build a tower, what man who wants to build a tower? I don't know why we're building towers, but that's beside the point. Let's say you're building a tower, what man doesn't first sit down and count the cost so he won't run out of money? And I think the proverb or the parable goes on to say, so that you won't have people laugh at you because you get halfway through and run out of money. But that's risk management. Before you build, you calculate the budget. Before you enter a trade, you calculate the loss. And a stop loss is just counting the cost in advance. From a purely mechanical standpoint, a stop loss is what helps you. Johnny says, yes, he trades with stop loss. A stop loss is just part of your trade setup. It helps you set, hey, your total risk and all of that thing, and all of that total risk and where your take profits go. All of that goes in. There are elements of trading, your trade setup, and they are biblical. They are. I mean, again, with the building a tower analogy, who doesn't count the cost? Stop losses are just building, counting the cost ahead of time, right before you trade. Proverbs also says, by the way, this is why we're reading Proverbs every day before we trade. There's so much trading wisdom in Proverbs. I bet Solomon never thought that. Proverbs 22 says, the prudent sees danger and hides himself, but the simple go on and suffer for it. Actually, that verse is 22:3. It is really interesting to read that verse in different translations because there's a couple of them that really, you read it like, man, is he talking about trading? Like the fool, the wise person sees danger and gets out, and the fool hangs on and loses his money. That kind of thing. Again, trading applicable. The prudent trader uses a stop loss, and the imprudent trader, what's the thing? Hope. We don't hang on and hope and there's a trading cliche involving hope. We don't trade on hope. We trade on probabilities. Quick money dwindled away. I read it. And often the simple trader is the one who says it'll come back. Hope and pray, essentially. So I used to do that all the time. So glasses. Bravo says, don't wear yourself out trying to get rich. Be wise enough to know when to quit. Absolutely. There's cut your losses. And there is, and I would love to know who is the originator of this quote. I've been told it was Rowan and Martin from the 70s. Not that I know who they are. I was born in the 70s. Declare victory and go home, right? That's take what you got and be satisfied with it. When I was a younger trader, a younger person, a little bit, but I'm a less experienced trader, I used to not trade with a stop. I would every day see my account go into more and more drawdown, and just I would cling to the hope. It'll turn around. It'll turn around. When by and large, I should have gotten out so long ago. That's and I think I'm being faithful. That's not faith. That's presumption. Faith trusts in God. Presumption tests God. There's another verse in, again, Solomon in this one, which is in Ecclesiastes this time. He says, he's talking about give a portion to 7 or even to 8, for you do not know what disaster might happen. There's even a reference in there about sailing ships. Diversification. Don't bet the farm on one stock. Again, stop losses are there to protect your account. And diversification is another element that you need because you never know when something's going to happen. Something happened today with the Kiwi. Don't know what happened today with the Kiwi. Haven't had a chance to look at it, but every single Kiwi pair is a massive candle. The Kiwi is the NZD, the New Zealand dollar, for those of you who don't trade Forex. I don't know what news came out today involving the New Zealand dollar, but man, every single pair was just off the charts. And you can't predict those. Trump could tweet and the market could fall. It's not tweeting anymore, but I can't say Trump could X because it doesn't sound like something that people say. Things like that happen. So you have to apply the unknown into your risk management. How do I apply unknown in my risk management? How am I going to prepare this trade for war breaking out or the CEO having a heart attack? How am I going to? It's built in to what the stop loss is, and we do this for one very good reason. We're protecting. I was about to say we're protecting our money, but I would much rather say we're protecting our money. Because at the end of the day, we have to take a look at whose money is this. Psalm says, the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. If you are trading a prop account, then sure, it is very easy. Prop firm is proprietary trading firm. Think of it like a hedge fund that crowdsources employees. If you're trading a prop account, then sure, it's easy to say, well, this is somebody else's money. Or if your brother gives you some money, it's easy to say that. But if you're trading your money, you have to take a look at it and say, is it really still my money? A longer term view of it is that the money in your account isn't really yours. It belongs to God. It belongs to your family. You're a steward, not an owner. And a good steward doesn't hope and hold. Hey, look, back when my stop loss was adrenaline fatigue and get to the point where I'm so beat down I don't care anymore. That was my stop loss. I have lost so much money on this trade. Fine, I'll get out. And that's usually when it turns around after I've gotten out. Back then, I was not a good steward of the money that I had. I'll tell the story another day about trading the money from my father's life insurance policy after he died and me feeling like I was killing him every single day all over again. It's a whole sad, emotional roller coaster tale that I'm not going to tell tonight. I'm not going to chase a rabbit. That's the producer's like, sure you're not. So we're talking about being good stewards of our money. The money, it's all God's money. It's about being responsible with a kingdom capital. Think about a good example from the Bible, Joseph. God gives him these dreams. 7 years of famine, plenty followed by 7 years of famine. And this time Joseph used the dreams and told them the way he was supposed to. One could argue Joseph should have kept his mouth shut about the whole dream to his brothers about you're going to bow down to me. I have a brother. I am a father to brothers, and sometimes when you're dealing with brothers, less is more when it comes to conversation. Mr. Producer's over there like, I don't want to talk about it. Anyway, Joseph gets to these dreams, and rather than saying, "Hey, God will see us through, me and my family, God will take care of," he planned. He prepared. He applied risk management. God told him what was going to happen. He planned ahead of time. That was his system. He didn't just pray for abundance. He planned for famine. He protected. He had a clear system. Hey, speaking of system, this is a perfect segue. This podcast tonight is brought to you by the Godly Trading, family-friendly trading course. We kick off this group class on, by the way, did you love that transition there? We kick off the group trading class on Monday, September 1st, which I know it's Labor Day. There's replays available. And the entire purpose of this course, we're not teaching you a system. This is not the give a man a fish method. This is teach a man to fish. We teach you how to develop a system for yourself, how to create it, how to test it, and how to execute it with biblical discipline. And we actually, to be honest, it's a two-pronged attack at being a successful trader. We develop, I'm over here gesturing and you can't even see my face. Thank you. We develop the system and we develop you as a trader side by side so that when the system is ready to be deployed, you, the trader, have become a disciplined trader so that you can successfully execute your own system. So it's a side by side training. The whole point of it is to give you something that you can stand on, a foundation, and you know where it comes from. So that's, if you want more information, there's a link in the description. It's godlytrading.com/class. Find out more about that. Look there. Speaking of foundation and stewardship, one of the things that I love about a stop loss is that it sort of it sort of feeds into this idea that I've often had about what trading is in general, which is the scientific method. Now, I was raised by two science teachers. Both of my parents at one point in their life were science. My mom lived and breathed it. My dad was literally the chemistry teacher who blew up things. At one point, he said, he blamed it on a student. He's in charge, right? They had to evacuate the entire building because of what happened in his class. Yeah, he swears he told the kid not to do it, but he did it anyway. And anyway, so he was that kind of a teacher. My mom, however, she lived and breathed the scientific method. To the point that I would come to her I remember ninth grade physics. I came to her and I'm like, Mom, I just need you to help me with this one question. I don't want you to go back to chapter 1. Don't teach me more than just answer this one question. Now, when my mom taught Bible classes, regardless of what she's teaching, she's starting in Genesis. She was the same way. I said, all right, Mom, I just need to answer this one question. Please give me this one. And she's like, all right, we're going to sit down. Let's talk about the scientific method. And for me, that's what trading is. So just for those of you who don't know, maybe you are a few years removed from. I'm not going to ask any of you how long ago it was that you were in high school or whether you passed high school. But scientific method. And as I read out these 5 steps, I want you to think about trading. So number 1, observation. Number 2, hypothesis. Experiment, analyze, and conclusion. Now you tell me if that doesn't sound exactly like what a trade is. You observe the chart and you come up with a hypothesis and you place the trade. That's your experiment. You watch the result, you draw a conclusion. So where does a stop loss fit in? Why am I talking about the scientific method? I'm getting there, right? I'm going to land this plane here in a minute. Did anybody see the video of the plane landing on the golf course? I guess any landing you can walk away from is a good landing. But anyway, chasing a rabbit and didn't even come from Johnny. Jeff says, I heard you suggest to turn off your P&L. I trade directional options. This is tough because they fluctuate so much. I typically don't have a stop. I seem to trade, not lose. Any suggestions? Well, with options, one of the great things about options is that your risk, when you click the button, the exact amount that you are willing to lose. Options are a little trickier. What I have often found is that with options specifically, you can calculate what your break-even point is. And then you can calculate what am I willing to lose on this, and then set alerts for when you get to that point. My experience with options, comes from the selling side of it. I love using options as income as opposed to capital gains. Jeff, we have a one-on-one, I believe, later this week. We can discuss that there, because I don't know that I have a full grasp of the question, unless it's somebody else that I have a one-on-one with on Sunday, on Friday. But anyway, so the stop loss is the hypothesis. Now getting blamed. That's what you get for showing up, Johnny. Here's what I love about the stop loss. You enter a trade, and the stop loss tells you whether this experiment worked or not. A proper hypothesis includes its own, I'm gonna use a phrase here, falsification point. Right, what in the world is he talking about? Right? In other words, this trading specific. What's the tag on your collar? Thank you, Johnny. I wonder what was sticking me. Brand new shirt. This one is cotton and not 100% polyester. And so I won't be bathed in sweat by the end of it. Brand new, just pulled it out of the tag. There's another one back here that's poking me. Thank you, Johnny. I appreciate that. So, the hypothesis. All right. Basically, your idea is, hey, I think Acme is going up. And my hypothesis is Acme is going up. But I'm wrong. If it closes lower, then I'm wrong, and that's where your stop belongs. At the logical point where the hypothesis is no longer true. I heard, there's a great podcast, video, whatever you want to call it. Merlin Rothfeld, who works with Online Trading Academy. Some folks have opinions about online trading accounting, but I love Merlin. Trader Merlin Show is what it's called these days. He's on YouTube. He had a guest on a long time ago, and his synopsis of a trade setup was so beautiful in its simplicity, which was this: have a reason to get into a trade, and then look to get out of that trade when that reason is gone. And that's so beautiful in its simplicity. I said that before. And that's what your take profit and your stop loss are all about. So your reason to get in the trade, I think Acme's going up. Yeah, forget about the whole coyote explosion last week. Acme is going up. But if I'm wrong, where would price need to be to prove to me that I'm wrong? If I think Acme is going to go up and up and up and up, and 3 days later it's gone down, it's put in a new low as opposed to a new high. Well, clearly it's not going up. In fact, it has gone down more since I got in. So price is telling me that it's not going up. Price is telling me I was wrong in my hypothesis of an uptrend. So now comes the hard part. Now comes the part where the biblical wisdom and our own fallen natures kick in. It might have been a door prize. I could start giving away T-shirts for door prizes if anybody wants one of these T-shirts. And wear them with pride. Speaking of pride, Proverbs 16 says, and I always remember this verse wrong, by the way. Pride goes before a fall, right? Who has heard pride goes before the fall? That's what I thought it said. It does not. It says pride goes before destruction and a haughty spirit before a fall. So in trading terms, pride goes before a margin call, if you want to think about destruction. The stop loss is humility coded into your order ticket. It's admitting that you can be wrong. It's the difference between captaining the Titanic to the bottom or cutting your losses and living to sail again. What it is, it's a trigger that says you're wrong. Now what you going to do about it? I like the example of, hey, I work for the MDOT, and there are plenty of signs around the state that are missing on our roads. Don't judge us. For instance, you get on the interstate or any highway. There's going to be a speed limit sign within a certain distance of the on-ramp by law. They're not always there. So you get on some unfamiliar road. Maybe you're driving through North Carolina, trying to find your way to Boomer, and I get on Highway 487. And I have no idea what the speed limit is. So I just sort of pick one. I'll drive 55 or 60. Then up ahead, you see a speed limit sign. Oh, there it is. Oh, hey, the speed limit's 45. Well, now I'm in a quandary. I can either bring my actions into alignment with what I know to be true. In other words, I'm going 60 and it's 45. Okay, I should slow down to 45. Or I can continue on knowing that I'm being disobedient. Same thing with stop loss. Price has told you, hey, you're wrong. We're not going up, we're going down. Right? Do with that information what you will. And now it's time for you to accept that you were wrong. And oh my goodness, is that we talked about it 2 weeks ago, or maybe it was last. When was our podcast about men versus women? Was that last week? I think it was last week. That was last Wednesday. We talked about it last Wednesday. That one of the issues with men and traders, we talked about it Sunday night about the 7 deadly sins. Pride is one of those. Our pride kicks in. I don't want to be wrong. Dadgummit, I know that Acme's going to go up, and I'm going to hang on for dear life, regardless of what the reality of the situation is. Not bad unless caught. No sign because Pepper failed to install it. Don't judge me. Our pride kicks in and says, I don't want to be wrong. I refuse to look at the evidence in front of my eyes. I can't hear you. I'm not going to get out right now, even though Price has told me to. This is where automatic stop losses kind of help. But anyway, back to the pride and 7 deadly sins, which I didn't realize weren't actually in the Bible in that order. All of the issue. We talked Sunday night, Galatians 5:16. Love this. Walk in the Spirit, and you will not fulfill the lust of the flesh. As traders, we want to trade in the Spirit and not fulfill the lust of the flesh. the trading lust of the flesh. And so that starts with praying that verse before we trade every single day. So what does this have to do with the stop loss? If we are exercising proper risk management, remember the detail. We started this whole conversation off way back when, talking about being faithful in little. And one of those little things is applying risk management when you know you're supposed to apply it. So when you do your trade setup and you draw a line on the chart, a little red line that says, if price hits this, I know I am wrong. Again, scientific method. I'm testing a hypothesis. If my experiment, which is my trade, gets to this point, my hypothesis has been proven incorrect. I'm wrong. And I have to accept that I'm wrong. Accept that this direction is wrong. I don't want to I need to internalize that. Don't let my pride get in the way. One of those things you can pray every day. Hey, before I'm opening my chart, I'm reading my August 20th chapter of Proverbs, and I'm praying, Father, help me to trade in the spirit today. Don't let me fall prey to gluttony or lust or greed or pride. Pride is the main one there. Help me to get out when I know I'm supposed to get out. Help me be a good steward. A good steward says, time to get out. Talking to one of our members the other day, and he was telling me about, I forget which stock it was. I think it was Broadcom. And he had to stop somewhere around like 180. And he was in at 185. He got to stop at 180. Stop loss is like the shield of faith against the fire. It is absolutely. It's there to protect you because it knows that you can't do it yourself. Anyway, I think it was Broadcom. He was in at 185. He got out at 180. You know, it never feels good when you're A, proven wrong, and B, you lose money in the process. But he said, like, the other day it was at 70. So that's one of those stop losses. You look back and go, man, am I glad I lost that $20 because I would have lost another 400 in the meantime. And that's what it does for us. You look at a chart from an emotional standpoint. In this one instance, keep your emotions out of it the rest of the time. But you look at it and say, all right, I want to get in right now. We're at a good price. We're at a supply line or a demand zone or a support resistance. We're at a whatever. We're hitting the 200-day moving average. And it's a good place to get in. And we're going to bounce off of this and head to the heavens. But if I'm wrong, I need to be able to be told by price, hey, you're wrong. Price isn't going up. And I need to be able to accept that in humility with a view towards of his resources that God has given me. And then when in your prayer, God help me to have the strength to accept this. I would highly recommend don't let you and your finger be the necessary step of implementing that it's time to get out. Always, if possible, like was mentioned earlier, Jeff was saying, sometimes that's not possible. There are certain markets that an automatic stop out there for your broker, it's not a thing like it is with stock. But to the extent that it is there, go ahead and send it ahead of time. Recognize within yourself that I have an issue with getting out when I know I'm supposed to get out. Now, look, we talked 3 or 4 weeks ago, maybe it was 3 or 4 months ago, about can the Bible help you place your take profit level? And if you haven't watched that video, go watch it. It was a good video. And absolutely it can, right? But you have to be willing to get out and be satisfied. Well, this is the opposite of that in the same exact way. You have to be willing to get out and be satisfied. Yes, I'm wrong. I'm okay with that. I'm out. I have protected everything else in there. I'm a good steward. And because I know myself, I let the computer be the thing that got me out. I tell the story all the time about my early days attempts to prop up my own lack of discipline with computer programs and having the computer be my risk manager for me to get me out of trades and stop losses and all those, I was a day trader at the time. Hey, I don't want to lose more than 1% a day. I don't want to lose more than 3 trades in a row, those kinds of things. Let me just write a computer program, which I did, to do all of these things for me because I know myself and I'm emotional, and I'm not going to be the one to click the button. It worked for about 3 days until I realized that because it was supposed to close all of my trades in about 5 minutes because it was the end of the day, and I don't at the time didn't carry day trades over. And I realized, hey, I can just turn the robot off, and there went all of my supposed risk management. But when you send it to the broker, it's still it's there, and unless you manually go and delete it, it's going to help you. So just get into the habit of, with to the extent possible, based on your market, pick a spot on the chart that says, logically speaking, my hypothesis of my direction is wrong if we hit here, so I'm getting out here. Father, give me the strength to accept it when it happens. Look, when it happens, none of us want to lose a trade. None of us want to lose money. Don't try to suppress those emotions. When it happens, step up away from your computer, go outside, howl at the moon or the sun. Go under our Discord channel, rant and rave. Oh my goodness, there was a Telegram channel I was a member of at the time, and it was like they call it the Great Pepper Meltdown of 2019. It was like for 2 months, I'm just in there every day. I hate this. I hate this. I hate this. And they're like, dude, find somewhere else to go. Find a group and go rant and rave. Get it out of your system. Feel the emotions fully. Yeah, none of us enjoys losing, but don't let those emotions cause you to click buttons. Always place a barrier of something between your decision making and your action taking. We teach in our class, I prefer a barrier of time. Maybe it's a barrier of, I know somebody who is great at analysis, but recognizes he's not great at execution. So what does he do? He takes all of his analysis, sends it to somebody else, and they do the execution. Perfect system. Separation between decision making and action taking. In your daily prayer, say, Father, give me the strength. Put on the full armor of God. That's what Johnny is alluding to. The shield of faith that puts out those fiery arrows. I believe the analogy is referencing a Roman shield, and it was 2 layers with an air gap, and so they would have the flaming arrows come in and hit it, but then there was the air gap that would keep the flames from. There was a thing about the Roman shields that was specifically flame retardant. Helmet of salvation, shield of faith, sword of the something, feet of something. Boy, for a channel called Godly Trading, I really don't know the Bible very well, do I? Anyway, in your daily prayer, Father, give me the strength to abide by what I know to be true. Like we talked about getting on the interstate and finally seeing the speed limit sign. My stop is going here. I'm applying a stop every single day because I want to be a good steward of the resources you've given me, the resources that Acme Prop Firm has given me, the $1,000 payout from my aunt's life insurance policy. I need help. Thank you, Johnny. I appreciate the concern. And just simply pray that he would give you the strength to trade by trade, small detail by small detail, do what we know we're supposed to be doing. And that is how the Bible can help you place your stop losses. Absolutely. Because at the end of the day, a stop is only as good as we are. No matter what we do in trading, it all comes down to us and our fight against our own nature. The reason I don't day trade anymore. People have asked me, do you day trade? I'm a recovering day trader, and I will not go back. Day trading brought out the worst aspects of I used to say my personality, but let's just call it what it is. Day trading brought out the worst aspects of my sin nature. And I recognized that about myself, and I moved on from day trading to something else that would not do that. So trading all comes down to, are we going to trade our plan with discipline or not? Are we going to be good stewards of the money that God has given us or not? And it's trade by trade, little detail by little detail. And it all starts with recognizing that the quote, my favorite religious quote, I hate the word religious, my favorite spiritual quote of all comes from the movie Rudy, about the Notre Dame football team. And the priest tells Rudy, hey, I've been in ministry for 50 years. I know 2 things. There is a God, and I'm not him. Recognize our sinful, fragile, frail, weak nature and say, Father, give me the strength to do what I know I'm supposed to do today without deviating from it. Treat your trade plan. Oh, this is going to say this, and I almost hate saying it because it sounds a little sacrilegious. Treat your trade plan with a modicum of comparability to the Bible, right? James or Paul talks about in the mirror darkly, right? That your trade plan is in the mirror darkly of the Bible, the Word of God that you follow as well as you can. The trade plan the same way. So let me just trade this thing the way I know it's. With our class, we help you build the trade plan, including God's Word, including the Holy Spirit. It's not just some idea you have. You pray about your trade plan so that at the end of the day, you say, this is not only some document that I have that tells me when to get in. I should probably slow down before Johnny makes a snide remark. The trade plan tells me more than just when to get in and when to get out. It tells me how to behave as a follower of Christ who goes out into the market. And I'm going to follow this thing as closely as I possibly can, day in and day out, even in the smallest details. So yes, absolutely, use your world's best trading manual daily and allow it to help you apply stop losses every single day. And if you do that, risk management is, I believe, the key to being a successful trader. Johnny says, belt of truth, breastplate of righteousness, shoes of the gospel of peace, shield of faith, helmet of salvation, sword of the Spirit. The sword is the only offensive weapon in that. The word of God, sword of the Spirit, is the only offensive weapon that is there. Put all of those on. I mean, think about those. Belt of truth. Do we need the ability to see truth in trading every day? Do we need the ability to recognize and accept truth? Again, what we're talking about, right? My trade setup said it was going to do this. It has done. The truth is the trade has done the exact opposite. I need to be able to accept that. The breastplate of righteousness. My goodness, protecting your innermost person with righteousness. Help me to be righteous today in what I do, because people are watching, regardless of if I think they are or not watching. People are watching if I call myself a godly trader, people are going to watch how I behave as I do that. We mentioned before the parable of the talents. The three guys were given commands to go trade, to go do business while the master is out of town. And they are absolutely required, or they are absolutely under the implied command that not only trade, but trade in a way that reflects well on the dude who gave you the money in the first place. You're his employee. Don't be, selling things out of the back of a van that you stole. Shield of faith. Do we need faith in our trading? Do we need faith to stick to our trade plan? Gospel of peace. The shoes of the gospel of peace. I believe it is referencing being able to run to others and spread the gospel of peace. Trading with joy. There it is. One of the last things you get is peace. John says, think about it. The word is the sword we read out of the book. I believe in Revelation, Jesus has a sword coming out of his mouth. That is the word of God is sharper than any two-edged sword. So again, our offensive weapon, helmet of salvation, and then the sword of the Spirit, like we talked about. Yeah, every day, every single day that I trade, I am convinced. I don't know that I can be convinced more and more every time. I mean, once you're convinced, right? It's a binary state, but I am more convinced every day that trading is a spiritual journey, a spiritual endeavor. And that, yes, there are millions of people who make lots of money in the markets that are not Christians. But that's them and that's not me. I'm not them. All I know is that in order for me to be successful, I need to recognize that trading involves following God's command, following the Spirit, and being true to whose I am. So do we physically fight? Sorry, I got distracted too. That's a good question. We'll talk about that on our Sunday night podcasts are more Bible study for traders, where I tend to geek out on Hebrew and Greek. Maybe we'll talk about that a little bit on another time. Wednesday nights are supposed to be a little more nuts and bolts. So anyway, that's the answer to can the Bible help you set stop losses? I believe the answer is yes. And I think that if we apply biblical principles every day, trade by trade, we can't help but be successful. So, with that, guys, thank you all for being here. Thank you for the comments. Thank you for participating. I will see you all next time.